Coming to you from one of the most resourceful, independent, and badass generations of all time. Welcome to the Gen X Brothers Podcast. Join Erik and Glenn, two half-brothers that make up one hell of a show.
Hey everybody, how's it going out there?
What's up, what's up, what's up?
Welcome to the Gen X Brothers Podcast. Welcome to a special edition of Hollyweird Chronicles. We know you've been bombarded with a bunch of political bullshit in the past few weeks with Ukraine and Russia and all that bullshit. So we're going to give you a break and kind of give you some stories from the old days. How me, myself, and Erik grew up in the 90s in Hollywood, living on the streets, living in gangland territory.
AKA Hollyweird.
Dodging bullets, smoking crack, getting drunk, blowing shit up. How you doing, Erik?
Doing all right. I'm up on a little bit of coffee here. I can't drink energy drinks anymore, because of the health. And, I was drinking 3 of those bangs a day. So,
Really? Fuck.
I'm becoming a coffee connoisseur, many flavors.
But is it the same thing? Is it the caffeine that's in those things, or what's
I guess it's the caffeine from what I understand. On the can, they trick you. They say 0 sugar, 0 carbs, 0 this, so you think you're doing okay. But 300 milligrams a can of caffeine. And then you do your little Google research, and it says yes, it can contribute to type 2 diabetes, which I end up getting.
They actually put that on the label?
No, it doesn't. That's the thing is so when I went to the doctor, the first time I went to the doctor, she said, okay, you're on the verge of type 2 diabetes. And I'm still drinking those energy drinks. And I go back to the doctor again. I finally have type 2 diabetes. But in between all that, I was looking up online, and it didn't say anywhere that they contribute to that, right? It was only after I got the diagnosis that I was type 2 that I look online again, and it says, of course, they contribute to type 2 diabetes, as research shows. And I'm like, oh, man. So that day, it was October 19th, I had to quit energy drinks. And I was, like I said, I was drinking 3 a day for years,
Damn.
And then I just had a checkup like a few weeks ago, and my AC1 levels back down to like 6.5. So 6.4 is normal range. But before it was like 7.8. So, low carb.
So that sounds like you have a class action lawsuit on your hands, right?
Yeah, I wonder if a lot of people probably do, right?
You better call Saul Goodman and get that shit going.
Here's a kicker too. The day I quit, I'm walking into Safeway, and then I see a new flavor, because they have all these. That's what they're known for, like all the different flavors, and you got to try them all. There's like 40 different flavors, and I go into Safeway, and this is my first day. I'm not gonna drink anymore. And I see they have a chocolate flavor. I'm like, oh, man, you motherfuckers. Roll out a new flavor.
The funny part is I hate to tell you this, but we just got a sponsor for Bang energy drinks.
I love your Bang. I just can't drink it.
Our new sponsors. Check it out.
Yeah, I love you, Bang. Just can't drink it.
You cause fucking diabetes, man.
I had to do the same thing with my drinking, I guess. Like give up alcohol and stuff like that. So I kind of use the same techniques of stop drinking, and to use the same technique to stop drinking energy drinks. And you don't realize you're addicted to those until you quit, because 3 days in, I'm like, oh, okay, just one more. Maybe I could just have one. I got it under control. But then you have to.
I mean, it's the same thing with anything. If you do it in excess, it's gonna get out of control and fucking take your life over and shit. But
so I'm clean and sober from energy drinks for, I think, over 4 months. So over 90 days. Over 90 days.
And what happens if you have a relapse on energy drinks? Fuck you. You're all crazy.
Yeah.
Are you drunk? No, I had an energy drink.
Bouncing off walls.
Yeah, so we're going to give everybody a break from the political scene. We're going to talk about some Hollywood Chronicles or Hollyweird Chronicles because, we've been having a really high intense discussion on TikTok about America and Russia and Ukraine. So if you do feel like being political, then go ahead and head over to our TikTok account at Gen X Bros.
Bitch us out.
You can jump on there, leave a comment, and check that shit out. Argue with some dumbasses. I saw that you were arguing with some dumbasses on there.
You discovered that whole where you can actually reply with a video.
Yeah.
Come on, motherfuckers, come at me. Meet me at the TikTok parking lot.
Now you're ready for blood.
Yeah, and I can call you out because of the video.
So just to set the scene here, we grew up in Hollywood in the 90s. You guys moved to Hollywood first. I was still in high school when you and Tony formed a band called Will-O-Wisp, and you moved to Hollywood, California, 1990.
Well, I believe 89 at first. blew all of our money and couldn't live anywhere. So we had to go back home and save up again and move back in 90.
Well, what led to your guys' ultimate decision to say, hey, I want to be in Hollywood?
Being in Atwater and just being like pretty much one of maybe 5 bands that were playing around the small town, Merced, booking gigs and, and just having bigger dreams, having bigger aspirations, obviously like, when you have, you're seeing all your heroes playing the clubs and getting record deals. And, we always had that vision that we saw ourselves bigger than just being a small town band or whatever. Back then, the whole idea is to move to Hollywood, get a record deal, become rock stars, and then kill yourself after that. Just kidding, folks.
But even back then, I mean, obviously you guys didn't have your own apartment. You guys lived at home. Hollywood is obviously expensive to live any time of decade.
But you don't know that when you're moving there, because your idea is that you're reading stories of all your heroes who lived in their vans and lived off chicks and everything. So that's our plan. Okay, we'll just do what they did. We'll go there. We'll live in our car for a couple of months or for a week. It was actually supposed to be for a couple of weeks, and we'll meet some girls and they'll pay for everything. That was the idea. But then when we get there, I kind of like to think that we had some kind of morals, that we didn't want to be the type of band to actually do that, like live off chicks, because we saw other guys doing it. We just kind of felt like, because we've had offers, we've had girls say, why don't you come and live with us? And there was a time when we actually did end up living with a couple of girls, and they liked us and we didn't like them back. They ended up kicking us out, So
the stripper plan was not a viable option and didn't plan out.
That was one of our first things. And this was my first time ever being in a strip club. So we went to the Seventh Veil. It was me, George, and Tony, and Aaron, and whoever else came with us. I think it was just us 4 at the time. So we're going to the strip club, and we actually did get to go home with some strippers. And all they did was just totally make fun of George the whole time. And they let us stay the night at their house. No sex, whatever went on. It's not like the Hollywood stories you hear, like, yeah, we went there, we had sex, and now, I'm dating a stripper now, this and that. No, we just went there, they were just making fun of George all night, and me and Tony just eating all their food in the refrigerator. And
so they were just more of like the nurturing type, like they felt sorry for you guys and kind of said, "Oh, we want to take care of this band."
Yeah, the same girl that had her ass in my face on stage is like, I'm at her house eating all the food out of her refrigerator, not even having to have sex with her or nothing.
I guess you win either way.
What's funny is like I don't remember myself kind of wanting to have sex with her. Like I don't know, maybe there was something wrong with me, but I was a sexual person at the time. Still am, but at the same time, it's like I wasn't ever the type to just go up to a girl and like, hey, babe, let's get it on, I always wait for that first move and stuff like that, but they weren't making the first move for some reason. But maybe I smelled from living.
They were probably waiting for you guys to make the move.
Plus, we probably didn't smell too good living in the car. There's been times where girls would come and visit us at our car from the Sunset Strip, and they'd be standing like 20 feet away, just to hang out with us. But yeah, there's so many different stories from living in the car, like because we did end up living in the car for a good 4 or 5 months, maybe for 4 months. We had 3 different cars. We had, Grandma gave us first. She gave us the red station wagon at first. No, she gave us a blue van at first. We lived in that. Then that got messed up, and then Tony's mom gave us her van. That got messed up, and then we ended up getting her car. And then, somehow we got the van. We gave it back to Grandma, and something happened with it. She traded George his car, his red car for her van. So George kept the van. This is when we went back home after that first time. So and then we ended up with a big red station wagon. That's where all of kind of the fun stories kind of really happened, is in that big red station wagon.
What was one of the best stories in the red station wagon?
One of the we finally go back, and this time we go back without George. But anyway, so we're in the red car. It's me, Aaron, and Tony. And I kind of keep thinking there was a 4th person, but I don't think there was. And, just his drums were in the back. We're talking like a big, if anybody knows about cars, which I don't, it's a big red station wagon with a pinstripe, really long. And it was a fast car. It was called a Country Squire. So a big red Country Squire. I don't know who makes it, whether it's Ford or Chevy. So somehow we made our way to downtown LA, and we're just kind of cruising the streets and just looking around, Tony, man, he's always making jokes of fucking making sounds or fucking, because I'm the one driving and he's fucking around with shit. And I'm laughing with him, and I end up like hitting a bumper of some other guy's car, fender bender. So I have my license. No, I did have my license at the time. I just didn't have any insurance on the car. So the guy signals us to pull over. And, the courtesy thing is to pull over with him, to exchange stuff or whatever. So he pulled over, and then I just ended up taking off.
Really? Damn.
Because I got nervous. And then next thing you know, I look back and he's actually chasing us downtown LA. And I don't know how I did it, but I got Tony in the back just laughing and going, "Oh my God, this is hilarious." Like laughing, and Aaron's laughing, and I'm like weaving in and out of traffic, and this guy's behind me, he's honking. And to this day, I don't know why he didn't get our license plate number, which is bizarre, but he's chasing us through it. And then we're going down one-way streets, and I just remember going down alleyways and everything. I finally somehow lost him. I just went through one alley. I don't know if from watching all those Starsky and Hutch episodes and Dukes of Hazzard, somehow maybe I learned how to lose somebody like that. But
were you like jumping the
there was one point we actually did jump a little bit over this. Yeah, there was this one construction site. I remember jumping a little bit over that, and then I ended up in some alley, and we just sat there, and then the guy just wasn't around anymore. And I left. I was like, "Wow, man, how the fuck do we escape that?" Was
it even that big of a deal, or was it just like a little tiny
little fender
dent
bender, but
something?
enough to probably pull over and probably, you know how people are. If you think you get hit a little bit, it was a pretty nice little bump. It was like it definitely shook the car up, and I don't think I saw any damage in front of my car or nothing. But yeah, that big red station wagon, it just took up a lot of space, because it was so long. It was like a limousine, but a station wagon limousine. And I'm thinking, how the hell did I get through like that chase, a high speed chase, no cops or nothing?
Man, that's crazy.
So that was kind of pretty much our first kind of crazy incident with the big red station wagon. Sat a lot, and we ended up getting a lot of parking tickets because we couldn't move it to the other side. And
now, didn't you actually lose your driver's license because you got too many parking tickets or something?
So just living in the car for so many months, you end up getting all these parking tickets because going to the strip and partying and coming back, and then you see your car's got a ticket on it because you didn't move it for the street cleaners or whatever. But over time, I think it built up to about $3,000 in tickets. Because when I went to go get my license renewed, they said, "Well, you can't renew until you pay all these fines." And I said, "Okay." So I hung up. I'll pay you.
Okay, I'll be the checks in the mail.
Yeah, checks in the mail. This was after we finally got an apartment. I went to renew my license, but. And I decided to just never bother with it. And then about 7 or 8 years later, I called to get my license back, or I was going to renew my license. And they said, "Well, it shows here in the system that you never had a license." And I go, "Are you sure?" Because I got my license at 16. And, I remember having all these parking tickets, I just couldn't get them at the time. I couldn't renew it at the time about 7 years ago. And the guy said, "Well, because of statute of limitations, they just ended up going to collections or whatever." And I ended up kind of just being restarted in the system. In other words, for me to get my license, I had to redo everything, like the test.
If you wait long enough,
you don't have to wait long enough, your tickets will disappear.
I do remember one time when I first moved to Hollywood with you guys, and you guys still had the station wagon, I believe at that time.
Yeah, I think we did still have it even when you moved there, because I remember and I was still driving, I think, and I don't think my license was suspended at that time.
Or actually, I think it was the year before, because I went to visit you in the summertime. But we were we were going to a club, to a Gothic club, and the police pulled us over. I don't know if you remember this. The police pulled us over. It was like the worst part of downtown LA.
Yeah.
Total shithole. He came up there. You didn't have a license. You didn't have insurance. Mm-hmm. You didn't have shit. And he goes back to to check this, basically to go run your name and shit and see if you had any warrants. And you were like in the car, you're sitting there in the car holding the steering wheel going, "Hell, please Satan, help me. Please Satan, help me. Please Satan, help me." And then the guy comes back and he fucking goes, "All right, sir, I have an emergency to get to, so just be safe when you drive." And he took off because somebody got shot.
The devil was real that day.
Not that Satan had anything to do with that, because we were in LA, and I'm sure people get shot every 5 minutes there.
Speak for yourself, man. Satan had everything to do with it.
Thank you, Satan.
Hail Satan.
I don't know if you remember that or not. I remember that because I was all scared. Yeah. I was scared for you. I think, because I think Tony's brother was with us, Spencer. That was one of the times he was visiting. Me and him were visiting together. Let's jump to one of the times. I think there was a story about you guys getting in a fight before your first show in Hollywood, and you guys were going to play a show.
So I want to say about maybe 3 or 4 months before our very first gig, which we'll get to that. It's me, Aaron, and Tony this time living in the car still. We decided, like we always did, get made up and go hit the Sunset Strip and promote. But, where we lived in our car was on Western Hollywood Blvd. So there was a little bit of ways to get to the Strip from there. I think we were going to take the bus. For some reason, we were walking. Well, yeah, probably because our car was out of gas or flat tires or something, which is another reason why I got so many parking tickets. So anyway, we're all dressed up and walking down Hollywood Blvd. I still remember it was close to Vine and Hollywood Blvd and kind of where Raji's is and stuff. And these guys drove by us. They looked like a bunch of jocks, like preppies or whatever, out of towners, puppy tourists or whatever. And they're like, "Hey, faggots with the makeup on, you fucking queers," and all this shit. And Tony's like, and then Tony, fuck. And then, Tony, man, it's like, turns around, "Fuck you, motherfuckers!" And then they fucking. So then they stop and then they come back and we're like, "Oh shit," and it was like about 6 or 7 of these guys. So they get out. And
wow, 6.
Just the 3 of us. And they get out and they just start pushing us. We start pushing back. And then I think Tony swings at one of them. I swing, or either I swing at him. All I know is it just started getting into a big old brawl. And they had Aaron on the ground. And Aaron's a big guy, man. He had, a lot of hair. Yeah. Almost looks Samoan in a way, but smaller than the Samoan. But they had him on the ground. And they're just kicking his ribs in and everything. And kicking the shit out of him. And then somehow somebody, I think it was me or somebody, yelled "cops," and then they just they just all took off and shit, and we're just licking our wounds, and I think we even still end up going out that night.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I could have swore there were before or after that incident, like you were saying something, or somebody got mad at you because you didn't fight that much, because you said you didn't want to mess up your hands because you play guitar. You were like, "I don't want to fuck up my hands."
I want to tell the story that I actually did fight, but the truth is, I probably didn't fight that much because I didn't want to mess up my hands, but. But for America,
I remember there was something funny about it. Like I'm sure you fought, but I mean, Tony was mad at you or something, and you were like, "Dude, I'm not gonna fuck up my hands. What the fuck's wrong with you?"
Yeah. I think Tony was doing the most of the brawling. Aaron was on the ground, and who knows? I think I might have been just standing around and punching a few times in there. But yeah, and then so the next day, we go back home or go back home to our car. And Aaron wakes up, he's just sore as fuck, man. He's like, you could tell he's just not having it. And I think that was what really, I think he was wanting to go home for a long time anyway. I think he was not really enjoying the whole living in the car experience for a while there. And I think that's just kind of...
Who is?
So he called his mom and went back home or never looked back after that. So it was just me and Tony.
So then it's you and Tony. But then you guys get into a fight too before your first... You finally get to where you can play your first gig.
We're 2 guys living in a car. Just the 2 of us. Just the 2 of us living in our car. So we go through that, and I think I'm going to say about a month later, Tony starts, making phone calls and booking gigs. And our first gig is at this little place called Raji's. It's a real dive, man. We didn't really have to book anything. It was basically just an open mic night that we had found out about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but Tony was, he was kind of still making the rounds with phone calls and. Yeah, we got this gig at Raji's. The guy said it was open mic night. It was going to be our first gig, 2-man band. All of our equipment, we had the big Randall amp and his drum set, and all we had to do was just wheel everything over in the shopping cart because where we stayed was about 4 blocks away in the car. One morning, Tony had this idea that, okay, this is going to be our first gig. We want to shock everybody. In our minds, we're thinking there's going to be a lot of people there. It's going to be like a sold out show.
Stadium full of shit.
We've been in that club before, and it was just, it's a total dive bar. I mean, we're talking like just scum of the scum. Above it is a hotel. There were a bunch of hookers stay and stuff. And Tony's idea was like, yeah, I'm going to wear some. We should actually put underwear on our head and come out like with underwear on our head and shock everybody with that. And I was like, nah, that's kind of stupid, dude.
Well, especially after you've been wearing your underwear without laundry for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, just like, dude, this is going to be shocking. We want to be original, man. We don't want to be like all these other bands. And like, yeah, we can be original, but that's just a stupid idea. And next thing you know, man, we're just like, I forgot I said something, and then he said something back, and then I forgot what started it, but all I know is we ended up in a big old wrestling match in the back of the station wagon. We're talking about in our underwear because we had just woken up. It was in the morning after we woke up, and I slept in my underwear. Tony slept in his underwear. He's got the tidy whities on. I think I had tidy whities at the time as well, but I don't wear those no more. For the record, Tony still does, from what I understand.
Really? How do you know that, Erik?
We get this big old wrestling match, and he's we're pulling each other's underwear and shit, and he just grabs me by the nose and just like rips the top part, man, and there's blood coming out and shit.
Oh.
And all of this was over a disagreement about putting underwear on her head. So I said, Tony, you win, man, you win. Just let go. We'll do the damn underwear.
He got his way.
Yeah, we'll do the damn underwear, which later on turned into the Haunted Underwear song when you came into band. So the funny thing is, so we finally agreed to it, and then I think our gig was a few days later. We're rolling down the street with our equipment on, and Tony's like, here's what really started the fight. Was not only did Tony want us to wear underwear coming out of the show and me thinking it was a bad idea, he wanted us on our way to the show, because we knew we had to walk our stuff to the show. We were going to wear the underwear on our heads as we're walking down the street.
What?
Yeah.
Why would you wear it all the way?
Yeah. So that
You guys already got beat up just for walking down the
so
street.
this time we're gonna wear underwear on our head on our way to the gig, and that's gonna get us signed to the major record labels, and we're gonna be rock stars. So that's what really I disagreed with, and what started the big fight. But anyway, so we actually ended up doing that, and because I agreed to it. And we're halfway there, and a cop pulls us over as we got a shopping cart full of drums.
So you actually did wear it.
Yeah. So we're walking down
on the street.
I think it was on Hollywood Boulevard. We're pushing the shopping cart full of his drums, and I'm pushing the big old tall Randall amp with my guitar strapped to my back, and got these underwear on our head, and a cop pulls us over and says, "You're not allowed to wear a mask in public." There's like a policy. Yeah. And so we had to take it off, and Tony was all pissed.
I wonder if he noticed what it was when he got closer. He was like, "Wait, that's not a fucking mask. That's your fucking underwear."
If I remember correctly, you did look at us pretty weird. Like, what the hell? It's
like, what if you were just fucking homeless people pushing your shopping cart?
We were just crazy homeless people with underwear on our head. Yeah. Come on, man.
He doesn't know you're going to a show.
Part of the gig, man. Shit, it's part of the look.
Wait. So you're allowed to steal a fucking shopping cart.
He didn't say nothing about the shopping cart.
And have that. He didn't say nothing about the shopping cart, but the fucking underwear on your head is not allowed.
The underwear trumps that.
Yeah. Fucking cops, man.
So we finally get to the gig, man. We finally get to the gig. It's open mic, and I think we were the only performers that night, because there was only 3 people in there. There was a bartender, a couple of people sitting at the chairs, and a little dive bar, smells like your typical bar of whiskey and cigarettes or whatever. And we're getting ready to load up on stage, and we had our set worked out. I kind of don't even remember how we didn't even rehearse for it or nothing. We just kind of knew the songs. We were going to do the songs we did before we moved to Hollywood. Long 10-minute songs, prog sounding, weird sounding.
Yeah, just progressive. Just wing it.
Yeah, I can't remember what the songs were. And so anyway, so we're setting up, and we got there's this little fat guy, right? And he's like all drunk, and he's bald, and he's fat. And we called him Karnov. Like, we always had nicknames for people. Like, he looked like Karnov, this video game that we used to play at the little market in Atwater. He's like this big fat dude, which is, it's probably based on some Greek god or something, so his name's Karnov with the earrings and stuff. So this guy looked like him, yeah. Big old belly, hairy chest, tattoos. He just kept calling us the Kiss Fags. He's all, "Hey, let the Kiss Fags up on stage." "Hey, Kiss Queers and Kiss Fags." He's like, "Yeah, look at the makeup they're wearing," and all that stuff. And he's just heckling us through the whole time, man.
There was no political correctness back then.
There was no political correctness. And, and I mean, when I get to who it is, people are going to trip out. Because later on, we didn't know who he was at the time until later on. And he ended up becoming a pretty good friend of ours. Duce from The Mentors. That's who it was. Are you familiar with The Mentors?
The man who killed Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, the man who apparently killed Kurt Cobain. So at this time, this little guy's just heckling us and all drunk. And I don't think I've ever seen Duce not drunk. So let's put it that way. So yeah. So I guess at that time, it was just normal for him. But yeah, so yeah, he's just calling us Kiss Fags. And he ended up liking us, I guess, at the end of the gig or into the set or whatever. He ended up liking us. And he was like, "Yeah, you guys are kick ass, man. You Kiss Fags are kick ass." He's just saying, still putting us down, but
still calling you that.
Still calling us. So then after that, we just kind of, after we started playing clubs on a regular basis and kind of started getting a little bit more known. I think even after you got in the band, yeah, we got to know Duce a little bit more, and because he would always show up at our shows, and he'd always be up front, saying the Kiss Fags thing to us, but having a good time. You know
how Duce reminds me of? He reminds me of the guy from the Andy Griffin Show, the one that would get drunk all the time and then take himself into Otis. That was fucking Otis from the Andy Griffin Show. Because he was like a totally nice guy when he wasn't drunk, but then when he was drunk, he was a total asshole.
There's a real cool Duce documentary on Amazon Prime. You should check it out. If people should, I watched it not too long ago, but if watching it, I'm thinking, yep, that's him. That's the same guy. But we'd go to parties, and he'd be at a party, and there was even one time he started helping us with our equipment. Like, he was, after a show, he helped us load and unload our equipment. He was still drunk and everything, but it's kind of funny because before we moved to Hollywood, I wasn't really a big Mentors fan, but Paul Merrill introduced us to a lot of bands. That was one of the records in his collection. And you see these 3 guys with the black hoods, and all their music was about degrading women, which, I'm not cool with that shit. I'm not cool with anything that he sings about, and he's got some racist stuff that he believes or whatever. But he is actually a really cool and nice guy. whether he's talented or not. No, the mentors is just, yeah.
He was like a G.G. Allen wannabe.
Probably just not as outrageous, but me, I just can't respect that kind of music. To me, it's just, I'm not trying to be a highbrow about it, but it's just, I just can't take it serious, when they're singing about golden showers and sandwich of love, stuff like that,
Well, they're trying to just be as obnoxious.
Apparently, he wrote all that music and stuff, and even his own band members didn't really like playing it, but they had to. If you watch that documentary, they just kind of did it just to do it.
They're like, okay,
but they're considered legends. Like a lot of people, if you talk about anybody who's a Mentors fan, they just love that band. And it's like, but the fact that he was our very first heckler, one of our very first, I guess you could say, audience members. Because I
guess it was probably like a rite of passage to get heckled by El Duce.
Yeah, to be called Kiss Fags by El Duce is an honor, I guess. But just for the record, I am not homophobic. I am very much a supporter of the LGBTQ community, and
as we all are.
There was even a time where I thought I was gay because I was getting hit up on a lot of gay guys in Hollywood, gay people, and I was listening to Erasure.
That's the criteria.
Well, I was listening to Erasure and Pet Shop Boys and things like that. I started getting into that music because those guys can write some really good melodies, and I'm starting to think to myself, do I need to be gay to write good songs? So I did put on some gay porn.
Isn't that kind of degrading?
Well, I put on some gay porn just to see if I would get a hard on or something, but I didn't. So nothing. And if I was, I wouldn't have no problems. I think we all have our experimentations, and we just kind of go through life and we are who we are, whoever you're attracted to, whether it's your opposite sex or same sex, as long as they make you happy, and that's all that matters. If you can't produce kids, you just adopt some kids. Don't let the GOP tell you different.
Yeah, or stuff them in a box and fucking bury them in the backyard. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Now, in 1992 is when I came and I joined the band. I recall that the day after I graduated high school, like almost the weekend after, I graduated on a Thursday and I left on a Sunday to drive down there.
Yeah, didn't I kind of talk you into joining the band or coming to join, like kind of sucker you into it? Like, come on, dude, I'll teach you all the songs, and
Yeah, because you wanted me to play bass, and I didn't really want to play bass because I was a guitar player at the time.
You needed a bass player.
I like playing guitar. Everybody wants to be a guitar player, and fucking.
We had just lost Bullet and needed a bass player.
And you were like, well, you were talking me into it like the year before because you were just, you should come down and just to hang out and stuff. I was
grooming you.
You wanted an extra person to pay rent. But I do remember that the first week that I moved down there, this is a clear case of a young kid realizing what racism is about, what fucking the real world is about. Because where I lived in Pismo Beach, there were 2 black kids. That was it. In the whole fucking town, there were 2 black families, and they went to high school with me, and I was friends with them. We were cool and all that stuff. So, so I thought, hey, I'm not racist. I'm cool with everybody and shit. And, me and you, that first couple of nights, we went walking down to Ralph's supermarket to get some groceries and shit. And we're walking out and this big black guy, fucking huge ass gangbanger looking dude comes up to me and says, yeah, man, can I have some change? And I'm like, I'm fucking, I didn't say this, but I'm fucking as broke as you are. I don't have any money. I look like a fucking bum. And I was just like, no, sorry, man, I don't have anything. And he just starts screaming, what the fuck? What, you don't want to give me money because I'm black, motherfucker? What the fuck is wrong with you, little white boy? And yeah, like totally. And I was like I was blown away by that because I was thinking, what did I do? Fuck, man. I was just fucking scared shitless. But then I realized how the world worked at that point and decided and tried to navigate my life. I think one of the best incidences, I should say, I think it was the first week. And you tell me if you remember this, because this is like fucking stuck and ingrained in my head. One of the cool things about Hollywood, if you're not sure what Hollywood is like, and if you've never been there, back in the 90s, it was almost it was bustling during the day, but at night it was like a desolate fucking wasteland with like creatures. The homeless people were like these little creatures that would come out, and it was like a weird it was a whole other world at nighttime. So you and I, you were like, okay, it was like my first week there, and you were like, okay, let's go out, let's go exploring. And it was like 3:00 in the morning, and I was like, I was young, I was like, fuck it, let's go for it. I wanted some adventure. That's why I moved down there to begin with. We went walking down the Hollywood Blvd where all the stars are at. It's 3:00 in the morning. There's nobody around. It's like completely desolate. we're over by the Legends Cafe.
Yeah, I think I remember.
And we're walking, and all of a sudden I hear this, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I literally, like, right next to us, this cab pulls up right next to, like, screeches, fucking, and then all of a sudden, then I heard, for some reason, I didn't hear, like, the sirens of the cop cars. I only heard the taxi cab coming up. It slid out right in front of us, like not more than like 10 feet in front of us. Almost probably could have hit us if it would have went another direction. Yeah. It pulls out, glass goes flying everywhere. Fucking, this guy gets out of the fucking cab. He looks like fucking Flea on crack, you know, like total fucking tweaker dude, all tatted up and shit. And I'm just like, my eyes are wide fucking open. And I'm just like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? And then the cop cars come up and they're surrounded. They're like pulling up. Get the fuck on the ground. Get the fuck on the ground. Damn. And the guy's like thinking he's going to take off. And then the funny part is he tries to take off. Another cop tackles him right in front of the taxi cab. Glass is everywhere, right? So they take this guy and they fucking slam him on the ground right in front of us. And we're just sitting there watching. Like you would think we would use our fucking head and like back up or something or get the fuck out of it. Like, what if this guy had a gun or something? Or what if the police shot at him? We'd be fucking dead. But we didn't think about that. The guy's fucking laying on the ground, and the cop, the funniest fucking thing, the cop goes up to him, takes his head, right, and puts his fucking foot on the guy's head and just starts grinding it into the glass. Shit. And the guy's like, there's fucking glass on the thing. He's all, too bad, motherfucker. And this was like at the height of Rampart fucking police department. And I remember
that. I was with you, right?
Yeah, you were right there. And I just remember that guy crying and fucking.
Yeah, no, I do remember it.
It was just so funny that how he was crying, like, because he's all, my face, and the cop was just like, fuck you, motherfucker, and he just had the gun on him in his face. Yeah. He had his foot like pushing his face right into the pavement.
Yeah, the Rampart.
I was like, damn, I didn't know that shit really happened. I was blown away by that, seeing that. I thought it was like a movie or something, you know?
That was before Rodney King, right? It was like the rap.
No, that was after. That was because I got there the year after Rodney King and the riots and stuff.
Yeah, it was some crazy shit.
That was some crazy shit.
There was this one.
And like you were, I was going to say, you were actually in the riots during 1991, if I remember correctly.
Was it 91 or 92 they happened? Was it?
Oh, I got there in 92, so I'm pretty sure it was the year before, 91.
We'll have to like check out Google for that, because I kind of remember being 92, but because O.J. Simpson was 90.
It could have been at the beginning.
Yeah, O.J. Simpson was 94. The trial.
Oh yeah, 1992. Yeah, okay.
So you must have got there like pretty much either after. Yeah.
Oh, it was in.
I kept thinking you were
April 29th.
I kept thinking you were living there during the riots or not.
No, I didn't get out of school until June, so it was like 2 months after. Damn, I'm surprised my dad even let me go, knowing it was that close to. I thought it was like a year before, because it seemed like you don't pay attention when you're a kid, but it seemed like a long time.
I tell all these youngins, I lived through the Rodney King riots, the O.J. Simpson trial, and the Northridge earthquake.
Now, didn't you do some funny shit during the riot?
So the riot, we were living right there on Yucca and Cherokee, probably the same apartment that you ended up at when you moved there. Watching the news and not thinking. I remember the trial was on, but I was out in the balcony. I think I was drinking probably a 40 or something like that, and I just remember being on the balcony and I see all these people running down Wilcox, with a bunch of stuff in their hands. And I had the TV down, so I didn't really hear anything about the verdict. I just knew it was on TV, but I wasn't paying attention. I think I might have had some music on or something, but I just see all these people running down the street and down Wilcox and like, damn, what's everyone doing? And so me and Tony decided to go down there, or me and Carrie, Tony's girlfriend, decided to go down there to the street and see, and everyone's just running with stuff in their hand, microwaves, clothes, and like stereo systems. And so we get to Hollywood, because we lived not even a half block from Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah,
it was right the next street over. Get down to Hollywood Boulevard, and then we see a couple stores on fire. And it was like next to Frederick to Hollywood, there was a store on fire. People just running around, fucking smashing windows and shit. And we're like, holy shit. So we go back up to our apartment, we turn on the news, and that's when it was showing like the riots just happened, like downtown LA, everything was breaking out. And I actually saw on TV that truck driver that got hit with the brick. I actually saw it happen when it happened. Like, it was like right there.
I remember seeing that live too on TV. Yeah, I watched that when it happened.
Not Rodney Dangerfield, but Reginald.
Yeah, Rodney Dangerfield was out there. I get no respect.
Yeah, Reginald Denny.
I get no respect in Hollywood.
Reginald Denny is his name. I think he's still alive, but Rodney King eventually died.
Well, didn't you get something free from there? Like I thought you
I was going to. I think I was tempted to. I kind of remember, again, I was drinking, but I just remember going back up to the apartment to see what was going on in the news. And
I thought I could have swore you and Allie went out and got leather jackets from one of the stores down.
No, I think he actually did, but I wasn't with him when he did. But I remember he
might have got one for you or something, because I know you had a new leather jacket.
Yeah, he's always good at getting.
So maybe he got one.
He was always good at hooking me up with stuff like that. He lost my leather jacket one time, and then he totally got this one chick. He totally like bitched at her and like, you better get my fucking best friend a leather jacket. I want you to buy it right now. You fucking whore. He's like, this guy would degrade women. And next thing you know, he'd be having sex with them. This chick actually bought me, and I felt bad. This chick bought me a leather jacket, and I felt bad for her. I go, you sure you don't want this back? And like, I feel bad that he did that,
She was all, no.
Because he lost my jacket. He makes her pay for me a new one instead of him paying for a new one. It's like,
Allie was a legend. Is he still alive?
Yeah,
Do we even know anything about
I was in contact with him
Allie?
a couple of years ago on Facebook. He seemed cool with me, but then he's into that QAnon and Trump stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was always like that's what always made me like, because I met him. Obviously, you guys were friends, and when I moved there, all your friends were actually really nice to me, which was cool. They never picked on me or did weird shit like they did to everybody else, which, obviously I appreciated. But Allie was always like weird because I always wore upside down crosses. And he would, and a skirt on stage.
He was very preachy. He was the kind of guy that would, like, if he saw you doing drugs, he would totally bitch about it, preach about it. And later on, he ends up being kind of into drugs.
Yeah.
But,
all coked out and fucking beating people up.
At the time I knew him and hung out with him, he was just mostly drinking. He was kind of obsessed with me. He would get jealous if me and Tony hung out, and because obviously Tony's my brother and he's in my band and everything. But Allie would always try to pull me away from him because Allie we were kind of inseparable at a time. We were tag teaming women and ended up in different cities. And I think that's when I got laid the most in Hollywood before I met Christine. And he was actually with Christine before I met her. And that's how it kind of, we didn't meet that way. But later on, when I'm with Christine, she's like, yeah, Allie was my ex-boyfriend. I go, oh shit. Now everything's making sense.
Yeah, it's weird how that circle works. Yeah.
Because how I met her was through his band Rebel. Because he was the bass player then.
Yeah, Jet and Teddy.
We played a show with Rebel, and Jet came up to me and said, hey man, I got this chick that wants to give you a blowjob. And so Christine comes up to me and just, hey, but he just made that up.
Yeah,
and then,
he was just fucking with
and then
you.
we ended up at his house, and me and Christine just got to know each other and just ended up going from there. And cause before that, I was just hitting Hollywood left and right with unprotected sex. And she took me home to meet her parents. So I thought, okay, I guess this is the one. I guess I need to settle down because no other girl took me home to meet the parents.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Yeah, so
I get to eat your food.
Yeah, it was a really nice house. And here's the weird thing. And remember, you were born in Ontario. So I meet Christine and we go to her house and everything. And then we, one weekend, we go to her house and we go across this one area. And there's this big open field. It was a school, right? The school she took me to the school. There was down the street from her house, and we're making out in the field, like the football field or whatever it was. I'm looking around and I'm thinking, this looks familiar to me. And it was exactly, and I have a good memory of me being in kindergarten. And I look around and I said, this is a school that I used to go to in kindergarten. Because I remember there was a grape field. It was like, and I even saw where the grape field used to be. And then there was apartments. I'm thinking the apartments that I saw in the background was probably the apartments I used to live in and that you were born pretty much at. And so I just thought that was cool.
So you ended up with a girl in the exact same place where I was born.
And that's what made me.
And obviously, that was like 20
so that's
years
what even
earlier.
solidified even more for me, especially back then when I'm trying to be spiritual and try to be like the universe and stuff like that. Thinking like, oh, this is it. It was meant to be.
Speaking of Rebel, I actually just saw an ad for them that they're still playing shows. They were in the Hollyweird Days magazine.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
The latest issue.
Unfortunately, they're just all they for some reason unfriended me on social media. Like I guess because I don't like Trump, and it's just like, yeah, you're gonna let our friendship. And we were like brothers, those guys. I mean,
they were really good friends. Yeah,
even like after I was out of Will-O-Wisp, I'd always be at Teddy's house. Me and Teddy were like pretty much almost best friends. Me, him, and Roger. Roger's still cool with me because Roger's a Democrat. Roger Romeo from Legs Diamond. But
that's weird that they're still playing shows out as a band. I mean, that's cool, but the fact that they would like shun you just for, again, it's fucking people, man. Just have your political beliefs. You can argue, but you can still be friends.
I guess they were never true friends in the beginning.
Yeah, I guess.
I have no problem with them. It's like,
but I do want to mention that they were, I saw them in the Hollyweird Days magazine, which is a magazine that's been around. In fact, they're still around today, Hollyweird Days magazine.
Ken Morton, I just took out an ad for Death Cryptopia, my project.
Yeah, Ken Morton did my first interview when I first moved to Hollywood in 1992. Like the first week I got there, he did an interview with me.
He's always been a huge supporter of Will-O-Wisp. And
yeah, we appreciate him, and he's always been supportive of underground music. And he's still, like I said, the magazine is still raging today. It's a really cool magazine if you're in Hollywood.
What I love about Ken now is like when you look at where he was then, and he was pretty much just always interviewing underground bands or like kind of local bands and stuff like that. Maybe a few bands were pretty much popular, but you see him now he's Cradle of Filth and all these big bands that, you know.
Yeah, he's got some clout, man. He's able to get some good big bands in his magazine, whereas before it was all just like us and Rebel and shit, like people that nobody would ever hear of unless you're in the Hollywood.
And he was always diverse. You know, he was always diverse, a wide range of like alternative indie pop music and then metal and then goth music. And so, you know, him and his crew were always very diverse with the music taste and always gave good reviews. He continues to give good reviews for my music and your music. And
yeah, he's fair. He's honest. You know, he's not going to put something down based upon somebody's beliefs or what they look like or whatever. Like he's always like he even got us our first music video, if I remember, like in that cable station or something, the first cat copulation and Animals and the Creatures.
So Ken, if you're listening, we want you on the show. We need to.
Yeah, come on, Ken. We'll talk to you. We'll talk some shit.
You probably got some stories to tell. We got some good stories. Catch up on the old days and just have a good time.
I bet he does, man. I mean, because he's been there. We left and shit, and we've been all over the world, but he's been there in the fucking trenches this whole time. So I would imagine he's got some fucking stories.
Yeah, we used to have this one reviewer that, you remember the magazine Music Connection? That's how we found Phil Lewis. And
yeah.
But anyway, before that, we had this guy that would review us and stuff, and he would just tear us apart. And he had a picture of himself as a kid as his profile in the magazine or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so we made that. If you ever look at the Will-O-Wisp, the old Will-O-Wisp logo, and you see that with the O, and it's got the cross, and it's got that guy's face. That was him. That was that critic, because he'd always give us a bad review. And so
that was your payback.
That was public enemy number one. And,
I do have to say that some of the best times was, like I said, being in Hollywood in the 90s when it was safe, but it was dangerous at the same time. It was maybe because of our age. Now I probably wouldn't even go there at fucking night. I'd be too scared. But I mean, we lived on what was called Crack Corner, right? They had a crack dealer on every single corner of the intersection where we lived on Yucca.
Yeah, the Southsiders on every corner.
Yeah, it was at the Southsiders, 18th Street.
But it's pretty much almost like Southsiders and all Surrender.
Is that what they're called? They could be called the same.
Well, Southsiders are like a kind of a generalized name for all of the Surrendos. Whether it's your 18th Street or Sur 13, you're just considered a Southsider, or like up here would be Norteños up here in Portland.
Well, with those guys, I mean, they were fucking bad as fuck, but they never bothered us because we had long hair, because we were weirdos. They were always cool with us.
We'd always push our equipment to Rock and Roll Studio, or the Rock and Roll rehearsal. We'd push from Yucca and Cherokee, where you and the band, when we did that, we'd push our equipment.
Sometimes, because I didn't want to use my car, so sometimes we would do that. And
that's how dedicated we were to fucking rehearse, man. We'd actually push our damn big old amp, and Tony would walk his drum set, I think, in a shopping cart all the way, like, must have been about 4.
We were like
at least 4
people,
blocks just to go rehearse, and we'd go through the 18th Street guys, and they'd be like, "Hey, what those?"
The best part was, right, so we would have, when we would play a show, we would sell tickets to our fans, and a lot of fans would have to come to our apartment in the fucking, now most of these girls were like good girls from the Valley and shit like that, and they wanted to come to Hollywood and be bad and check out some cool bands and stuff. And so they would come to us, and I remember this one girl came up to the house to the apartment, and she was just fucking white as a ghost. We were like, "What? Are you okay? What the fuck's going on?" And she was like, "I just saw somebody get shot in the face." I'm like, "Oh, that's
just a typical
like,
Tuesday.
That's Hollywood.
That's a Tuesday."
Yeah.
Just another Tuesday.
We're like, "Oh, we thought it was something serious." Oh, okay.
What I understand, we had a couple of members of Cold Chamber before they made it famous. They used to come to our house a few times and bought tickets from us. And
oh, really? Yeah, I don't remember. I never remember anyone's face, but or their names. But I do remember this one time on fucking, when we were in our apartment building. We're on the 4th floor, and the manager calls up, and says, "Don't go out onto the 4th floor because somebody with a machete is walking around." Do you remember that? Like,
I don't remember what happened afterwards, but
yeah, I don't know. We just stayed in the fucking house, man. I think we looked through the peephole. When your manager calls you and tells you there's somebody with a machete on your floor, you fucking stay in the house and bar the door shut. That was the beauty of our neighborhood.
A lot of good memories on Yucca and Cherokee.
Yeah, Cherokee. I never remember the cross street there. Yucca and Cherokee.
Wilcox was on the other side, and then Cherokee was the other side. Like, we were kind of in the middle between. There was a really bad, crappy, crackhead-looking apartment complex across the street, and ours was like the kind of nice. I still remember the address, 6633 Yucca Street. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes. Now that you say it, yeah, now I remember as well. But before that, you guys lived with some fucking total, like, what was it, Hollywood or New York Gypsy?
New York Gypsy.
You got to tell some stories about that.
She lived with us. She was pregnant, and I was the one that kind of talked Carrie and Tony into letting her stay with us because she was kind of a friend of me and Allie's on the Strip, and she was friends with Glamour Punks, but she had just come from New York. She was something to do with her kid, had some kind of DHS case open with her kid or something. But then she was pregnant too, and she didn't want to have to go back to New York. And I was, feeling bad for her. So I let her, because she was homeless, so I let her stay with us. And she would eat up all of Carrie's food, and Carrie would complain. And
yeah, she was a fucking trip, man. Because I was there one weekend when I came to visit you before I moved there, and she was there. And yeah, man, she was like Jabba the Hutt. Didn't she look like Jabba the Hutt, but with like a punk rock version of Jabba the Hutt or something? But I mean, she was pregnant at the time.
Teeth, really hard looking New York accent, really heavy New York accent, which I can't do. But
oh, that's what it was. It was a cross between Jabba the Hutt and Courtney Love. That's who she looked like.
She treated me like I was like her baby. Like, Erik, you're my little baby. I need you to take care of me. You're like, well, I'm your baby. Why am I taking care of you? You're my baby, I guess.
Well, I think she had a weird accent. Was she Puerto Rican or something? Yeah, she had like a weird accent.
New York, Puerto Rican.
Dominican or Puerto Rican or something.
Straight from New York, like the Bronx, as a matter of fact. And so she somehow ended up getting her out of the house. And
all right, so we're going to wrap it up here. This has been an episode of the Hollyweird Chronicles. Some fucking shit from the streets of Hollywood. We'll visit this from time to time just to kind of go back to our roots. How you feeling about your roots? Did it shape you to be who you wanted to be in life, Erik?
So. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing because, even though I went through a lot of hard stuff, especially with the addiction, but when I look at it, it's like, well, I guess it made me who I am today. And I think I've always, whether you believe in heaven or hell or not, I don't really believe in, I'm an agnostic, but you have to go through hell to get to heaven. Yeah. Take that for however you take it, but you basically have to.
I'll take that from Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, that's what I'll take that from. Throw in a rainbow or two. Yes.
Horns up for Dio.
Rest in peace.
So, all right. I want to thank everybody for listening to us. Again, we appreciate your support. You can check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, wherever the fuck their social media is at Gen X Bros. Look us up on Google if you want to find us. Make sure you share the show with your friends. If you appreciate what you're hearing, send us an email at genxbros@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. We'll read your letters, your emails on the air. We'll answer them. We'll make fun of them. Hey, and if you really troll us, then we'll have you on the show. We got this new program now where we can have live callers. So we'll fucking have your ass on. We don't give a shit.
We embrace our trollers. And if you're a young band living in, like, say, Haystack, Kansas or whatever, and you're thinking about moving to Hollywood because you want to make it big, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do that now. I'm saving you the trouble. You don't have to go through the nightmares that we went through. As long as you write good music and you take advantage of what we have today with social media, you can make it anywhere in the world. You don't need to move to Hollywood. But if you want to, that's on you.
I mean, yeah, if it's your passion, you want to do it, but you don't have to put yourself through hell for that, man, because it's a waste of time. It's a waste.
Put yourself through hell in Haystack, Kansas.
But then again, I wouldn't trade it for anything because it was a great fucking time, man. We had some good times.
Roll up the van and get going to Hollywood.
So we just started with that. So the next time we visit this topic, we got another 100 stories for you guys, man. Some fucking, and if you guys remember, if anybody out there remembers living in Hollywood or being from the Hollywood scene or the glam scene or the gothic scene, email us. Let us know about it. We'll read your stories on the air here. We'll talk about it, or maybe even have you on the show. So yeah, we appreciate you listening to us. We will hear from you next week, and you'll hear from us. So everybody have a good night.
Peace out.
Peace.